The Nigerian Tobacco Control Research Group and the Environmental Rights Action Friends of the Earth, in collaboration with the African Tobacco Control Alliance (ATCA), have presented a national research that shows how tobacco companies strategically situate tobacco product and advertisement near primary and secondary schools, with the aim of enticing kids to experiment smoking. Big Tobacco, Tiny Targets, Tobacco Industry Target Schools in Africa is a report that was initially launched in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, Nigeria. This time, the message was taken to the city of Ibadan, where secondary school students were brought together to hear and learn from the anti-tobacco sermon. ERA and NTCRG said that a research work titled Big Tobacco, Tiny Targets Nigeria Report exposed widespread sale of tobacco products along path of primary and secondary schools in 5 states, that's Lagos, Nasarawa, Enugu, Kaduna and Oyo.
Do one our state and local education authorities as well as our ministries of health at the state as well as the federal level to ensure that we comprehensively ban the sale, the advertisement and the supply of tobacco products within 100 meters of all schools in Nigeria, as enshrined in the first schedule of the National Tobacco Control Act of 2015, and has also has been put forward by the Framework Convention on Tobacco Control, the Article 16 of it, which Nigeria also is a signatory to.
The report also alleged that there was deliberate display of tobacco products next to sweets and drinks, making them easily accessible, and sales of single tobacco sticks at very affordable rates, among other tactics of getting children to smoke and ultimately get addicted.
If tobacco is being sold around school where our children go to, and when they're buying sweets and biscuits, there's tobacco around, and these tobaccos are flavored. And sometimes some of them smell outside the pack. So the smell of tobacco is even more dominant around the kiosk more than the smell of biscuit. Children that we have these days are very, very inquisitive. They want to try out things. They're getting very independent. They will not tell you. And so the way forward is for us to let our children know that if around their school premises they find sales of tobacco, they should tell their teachers. Their teachers should blow it out. If it's something they can control, tell the sellers to move away.
The report urged the government to take action on urgent passage of the regulations guiding implementation of the National Tobacco Control NTC Act 2015 by the National Assembly, and proactive prohibition of placement of tobacco products within 100 meters of any educational institution by the federal, state and local education authorities.
Yeah, we are here to launch a report, Big Tobacco, Tiny Targets Nigeria report, which details the antics of the tobacco industry in situating point of sale of tobacco products and adverts near schools. The reason this is done by the tobacco industry is to get our children interested in smoking and ultimately to addict them. So this report is a damning report actually, which should set our government to take action. It covers 5 states where this dangerous practice have been discovered. It's prevalent in Nasarawa State, it's prevalent in Lagos, it's prevalent in Ibadan here where we're having this meeting. It's also prevalent in Enugu and Kaduna, and you can replicate this across the country. If we could get to 221 schools where this practice is, evident, you could imagine if we extend it to other states. So this is one of the strategies the tobacco industry is using to get replacement smokers, and it's a practice we expect the Nigerian government to do something about.
It demanded the enforcement of the comprehensive prohibition of tobacco advertising, promotion and sponsorship, and the setting up of a framework for monitoring the implementation of the ban on single sticks and cigarette packs with less than 20 sticks as detailed in the NTC Act 2015.
Today's program, I've learned a lot of things about tobacco. I know tobacco is not really, shouldn't be around children, and I know that tobacco producers are targeting children so that they can have more gain or profit from their business.
When I live here now, I will go to my local area, my community, telling people about the dangerous effects of tobacco in the body, especially those old men and women that sit in corners taking the tobacco. And I will tell my elder brother to tell his friends not to engage in tobacco smoking.
At the public presentation, The activist said tobacco use was the single most preventable cause of death and that the tobacco industry deliberately targeted kids as replacement smokers.